Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the show that looks past those perfect travel photos, you know the ones, and really digs into what it takes to actually do the trip. We give you the blueprint, the real details, so you can turn that dream vacation into something that actually happens without the usual headaches.
And today, oh boy, we are tackling a big one. Palawan, in the Philippines. It gets called the world's best island all the time. It's basically the definition of paradise for a lot of people. Everyone wants to go there.
Right, but wanting and doing are two different things. So, our sources for this deep dive aren't the glossy brochures. Nope, we're working from the real stuff. Detailed travel notes, budget spreadsheets, step-by-step logistics, stuff made for actual mid-range travelers thinking about this exact trip. We're cutting through the hype here.
Exactly. And our mission today is, well, it's critical. We need to look beyond the stunning pictures and give this whole idea a proper reality check. We're going to map out the travel involved, which is more complicated than you might think. We'll crunch the actual numbers, no hidden costs. And then we get to the tough question.
Is it worth it? Does this incredible natural beauty justify what's clearly a pretty significant investment of, well, time, money, and maybe even patience?
Getting this info up front before you book anything, that's like your insurance policy. Seriously, it stops you from getting overwhelmed halfway through planning, or worse, getting there and realizing, oh, this is way harder or more expensive than I thought. We want you to avoid that uh-oh moment.
The moment when your flight's delayed, the ferry might be choppy, and you're still hours away from that perfect beach. Preparation is key.
So let's start with the dream itself. Why Palawan? What's the big draw that creates all this buzz?
Okay, let's unpack that dream. What makes Palawan Palawan?
Well, visually, it's just, wow, it's unlike almost anywhere else. The landscape is incredibly dramatic. Right away.
Yeah, you see the pictures and the colors almost look fake, don't they?
Yeah.
That blue water, those cliffs. Tell us about that landscape of legend. What are the key things people are seeing?
It really starts with the geology. These massive limestone karsts, they're not just hills, they're these huge, ancient rock formations just jutting straight up out of the sea. Geologically, they're like old coral reefs pushed up and carved out over millions of years. They're enormous, and they frame absolutely everything, gives it that epic feel.
And those cliffs set the stage for the water, I guess.
Exactly, the water. People talk about it being impossibly clear, vibrant blue. Sometimes it's deep sapphire, other times this almost electric turquoise. And because it's limestone all around, not like a muddy river mouth, the visibility is just insane. You feel like your boat is floating on air sometimes.
But it's not just about looking at it, right? The sources really hammer home that you need to get in it. That's the adventure part.
Totally. The whole adventure is about navigating through these karsts. The most famous spots, especially around El Nido, are the hidden lagoons. Secret lagoon, big lagoon, small lagoon. They're these pockets of calm water, often tucked away. And sometimes the only way in is through a narrow gap in the rocks.
I've heard that. Like you sometimes had to swim through or duck down in your kayak.
You do. Sometimes wait for the tide, and then boom, you're inside. These peaceful emerald green pools, totally surrounded by sheer limestone walls. It's properly magical. And the light, the way the sun filters down through cracks in the rock overhead, it makes these beams in the water. It's, yeah. That's the postcard shot. That's the memory.
And beaches, of course. Gotta have the beaches.
Oh, absolutely. You've got these stretches of really fine white sand, often pretty empty if you get slightly off the main tour routes. Palm trees swaying, the whole classic tropical island vibe. It delivers on that promise.
Okay, so Palawan isn't just one place. You mentioned El Nido. The sources break it down into two main hubs, right? El Nido and Coron. What's the difference for someone planning?
Yeah, this is super important for your itinerary. El Nido is ground zero for those iconic limestone landscapes. The lagoons, the dramatic cliffs, the kayaking adventures. If that's the image you have in your head, El Nido is your main base.
Okay, El Nido for the lagoons. What about Coron?
Coron has stunning scenery too, definitely. But its big claim to fame, what makes it world-renowned, is what's underwater. Coron is famous for wreck diving. Seriously world-class. Back in World War II, a whole fleet of Japanese supply ships got sunk there by the U.S. Navy. And now, those wrecks, the Arako, Akitsushima, Olympia Maru, they're dive sites.
Whoa, hold on. Can anyone dive those? What's that like?
Well, some are pretty deep, like the Arako, really for technical divers, but others, like the Olympia Maru, are shallower, more accessible for regular certified divers. And they're amazing because it's this mix of history, you know, seeing these massive wartime ships, but now they're completely covered in coral and teeming with fish. It's a totally different kind of adventure compared to paddling in El Nido.
Okay, so landscapes and lagoons in El Nido,
Yeah.
diving, and history in Coron. But the core activity, the thing everyone has to do, is island hopping tours.
Mandatory. You just can't go to Palawan and not do island hopping. It's the experience. You spend the day on a traditional boat called a banca, visiting different spots, snorkeling, swimming in these beautiful coves. And usually the crew grills up fresh fish and seafood for lunch right there on the boat or on some secluded beach. It's fantastic.
Sounds pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And when you're not on the boat, what's the vibe like in the towns? Is it all fancy resorts?
Nah, not really. It's much more laid back, rustic, adventurous feel. El Nido town itself is described as like charmingly chaotic. It's busy, buzzing, especially at night. Lots of little bars right on the beach, street food everywhere, cheap and usually really good. Coron town is generally a bit quieter, maybe more focused on the dive operations, but still has that island charm.
And the people? What's the interaction like?
Oh, that's a huge plus. The sources always mention how friendly the locals are. Filipino culture is really big on hospitality. People are genuinely welcoming, quick with a smile. It makes you feel like you're actually escaping, not just in some sterile tourist bubble.
Okay, the appeal is undeniable. Stunning beauty, real adventure, friendly vibe, sounds perfect, almost too perfect, which usually means there's a catch. And I suspect the catch involves getting there. Time to talk logistics.
Exactly. We need to pivot from the dream to the practical steps. Because accessing this kind of beauty, well, it takes some effort. This is where the planning gets serious. Right, let's talk about the actual mechanics of travel, because this is hurdle number one, financially and honestly mentally too. For most people flying internationally, say, from Europe, North America, even other parts of Asia, you can't just fly straight into Palawan.
Okay, so step one is getting to the Philippines itself.
Yeah.
Manila or Cebu, probably.
Precisely. You have to fly into a major hub first. Usually Manila, that's MNL airport code, or sometimes Cebu, CEB. Only then do you deal with getting the domestic flight over to Palawan. And this is where it gets tricky, because you basically have three main options for that domestic leg, and each one forces a choice. Convenience versus cost. A big choice.
All right, let's break these down. This sounds like a critical decision point for budget and time. Option one, the expensive but easy way.
Option one is flying directly into El Nido's own little airport, WWII Airport. The code is ENI. This route is pretty much dominated by one airline, Air Swift. And this is peak convenience. You land, grab your bag, hop in a tricycle that's like a motorbike with a sidecar, and maybe 15 minutes later, you're right in El Nido town. Super simple.
Sounds great. So why is it a barrier? Just the price?
Just the price, but it's a big price difference. Because Air Swift has limited competition on that specific route, Manila to El Nido. They can charge a lot more. We'll get to exact figures later, but you're paying a hefty premium just to save yourself about 5 or 6 hours of ground travel. It's the easiest route, but it hits the wallet hard.
Okay. Option two then, maybe for people heading to Coron first for the diving.
That's flying into Busuanga Airport, code USU. This serves Coron. Flights here are usually a bit cheaper than going directly to El Nido's ENI, but it's not right in town. When you land at USU, you've then got a mandatory minivan transfer waiting. It takes about 30, maybe 45 minutes to get to Coron town proper. It's organized, usually straightforward, but it's another step, another small cost.
Right. And option three, this is the one that forces the big time versus money decision. Flying into the capital, Puerto Princesa, PPS.
This is the classic budget route. Flights into Puerto Princesa, PPS, are way cheaper.
Yeah.
And there are more of them because all the major Filipino budget airlines fly there. This is where you can save maybe, say, $150 compared to flying direct to El Nido.
Okay, saving $150 sounds good, but what's the catch? You hinted at it earlier, a long ground transfer.
A long ground transfer. From Puerto Princesa Airport, you then have to get a minivan to El Nido, and that ride is 5 to 6 hours, minimum.
Oof, 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
After potentially a long international flight and another domestic one, what's that ride like? Is it comfortable?
Comfortable might be generous. These are usually shared minivans, often packed pretty tight. The roads are getting better, but they can still be winding, definitely bumpy in sections. They stop along the way, too. It requires patience. A strong stomach, maybe, if you get carsick easily. You save cash, definitely, but you pay for it in time, comfort, and honestly, just being exhausted by the time you finally arrive in El Nido. It turns travel day into a very, very long day.
That really puts that expensive Air Swift flight into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That extra $150 or $200 isn't just for the flight. It's buying back half a day of your vacation and skipping that van ride.
That's exactly the trade-off. And it doesn't stop there. If you want to see both El Nido and Coron, which many people do, you need to connect between them.
And that means getting on a boat,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. There are fast ferries that run between El Nido and Coron. The journey itself is about 3 to 4 hours. Sounds okay, but here's the warning from the sources. If the weather isn't calm, that ferry ride can get very choppy, like really rough. Being prepared for seasickness is a good idea. Plus, they only run once or maybe twice a day, so if you miss it, or if it gets canceled due to weather, your whole plan for the day is shot.
Okay, so summing up the logistics. Getting to Palawan, especially if you hit both main spots, involves multiple flights international, then domestic, maybe that super long van ride, potentially a choppy ferry, and then local transport like tricycles. It's not straightforward.
Not at all. It's a multi-stage process. You have to kind of accept that the journey is part of the adventure. You don't just land and instantly relax. You got to navigate different airports, haggle for tricycles, endure the transfers. You definitely earn that beach view.
Yeah, you earn it, which usually costs money. Now that we know the time and effort, let's talk dollars and cents, or rather pesos and dollars.
Okay, let's get down to the brass tacks money. We need a clear baseline here. We're talking about a mid-range traveler. So not backpacker hostels, but not luxury resorts either. Someone looking for a comfortable private room, air conditioning, decent food. Let's say for a solid 7-day trip, maybe flying in from a nearby hub like Singapore or Bangkok to keep the international flight cost reasonable.
That's it. Mid-range, 7 days, starting point somewhere in Asia. Let's break it down, item by item. International flight first getting to Manila or Cebu.
Okay, booking in advance from a regional hub, you're probably looking at somewhere between $250 and $400 US return. Let's budget a realistic $350 USD for that main international leg.
Okay, $350 to get into the Philippines. Now the big one we flagged, the domestic flights within the Philippines to Palawan. Let's price the convenient option, flying directly into El Nido, ENI, to skip that long van ride.
Right, for that convenience, flying Manila to El Nido, return on AirSwift, you need to budget around $300 USD.
Wow, okay, pause there. $300 US. For a domestic flight within Southeast Asia, that seems really high compared to flying within, say, Thailand or Vietnam.
It is really high. That's a crucial point. You can fly Bangkok to Chiang Mai return for, what, $50 sometimes? Maybe $100. So yeah, $300 for that convenient Palawan hop is easily 3, maybe even 6 times more expensive than comparable domestic flights elsewhere in the region. That limited competition on the direct El Nido route really inflates the entry cost for the whole trip.
Okay, that explains a lot about why the total cost might seem high. Next up, accommodation, 7 nights, mid-range AC, comfortable.
Yeah, here the cost is actually pretty reasonable. Our sources suggest a good mid-range guest house or hotel averages around $55 USD per night. So for 7 nights, that's $385 USD.
Hold on, only $55 a night. That's quite affordable. So if accommodation is cheap, but the total cheap cost is high, it really highlights that you're paying a massive premium just for access, mainly through those flights, right?
That's exactly the dynamic. You're paying a steep entry fee via the flights to get to a place where the day-to-day costs, like lodging and food, are actually quite budget-friendly for the quality you get. It skews the whole value perception.
Makes sense. Okay, what about the main reason you go? The island hopping tours. Let's budget for doing, say, 3 different tours to see the highlights.
The tours themselves are great value. Typically, tours A, B, C, or D cost between 1,200 and 1,400 Philippine pesos. That translates to only about $20 to $25 USD per person per day.
And that includes the boat, the crew, often a really nice grilled lunch. Fantastic value.
$25 for a full day out like that is amazing. And there's that environmental fee too, right? The ETDF?
Yep, the Ecotourism Development Fund fee. It's a one-time payment usually when you take your first tour. It's 200 pesos, which is only about $4 USD. And it's important that money genuinely goes towards protecting the place. Waste management, keeping the lagoons clean, paying park rangers. It's a small price for sustainability. So 3 tours at $25 each is $75, plus the $4 fee. Let's call it $79 USD total for the core activities. Still very reasonable once you're there.
Definitely. Next, food and drinks for the week. We're budgeting comfortably, mixing it up. Some cheap, delicious street food, maybe $2 to $5 a meal. Some meals at mid-range restaurants, say $8 to $15.
Let's say $40–50 US dollars a day should cover food, water, maybe a couple of local San Miguel beers in the evening.
Sounds about right. For 7 days, that comes to $315 USD.
Okay, local transport. Getting around town in tricycles, maybe renting a scooter for a day trip to Napan Beach or something.
Yeah, tricycles are cheap for short hops. Maybe factor in a scooter rental or hiring a tricycle for a longer trip. Let's budget $50 USD total for the week for local transport. Should be plenty.
And lastly, if someone is doing both El Nido and Coron, They need that ferry ticket.
Right, the fast ferry. It's about 1,300 to 1,500 pesos each way. So for the round trip between the two, you need to budget another $60 USD or so.
Okay, let's tally this all up. Mid-range, 7 days, flying direct to El Nido, doing 3 tours, eating well, local transport, plus the ferry if doing both islands. What's the grand total look like?
Okay, let's add it. International flight, $350, plus domestic flight, $300, plus accommodation, $385, plus tours fees, $79, plus food drink, $315, plus local transport, $50, plus ferry, $60. That brings us to approximately 1,539 gore USD for one person for 1 week.
Wow, $1,500. That's the reality check, isn't it? It confirms Palawan isn't a super cheap Southeast Asian getaway. That domestic flight is the killer.
It really is. You can live relatively cheaply once you land, but getting there conveniently costs a premium. It positions Palawan as more expensive than, say, Thailand or Vietnam for a similar length trip.
So if $1,539 is the calculated base, what should someone actually budget for comfort, maybe some buffer for unexpected things?
I'd realistically advise budgeting $1,600 to $1,800 USD for that week to be comfortable, not worrying about every single peso. And remember, that doesn't include your travel insurance, any diving packages in Coron which are extra, or bringing home lots of souvenirs. If you stay longer, say 10 days, you could easily be looking at $2,000 to $2,500. It's a serious financial commitment.
Which brings us to the absolute crucial point, maximizing that investment. If you're spending $1,600 plus and dealing with the travel hassle, you need to make damn sure you get the paradise you paid for, which means timing and expectations are everything.
Absolutely. Given the cost and the effort involved, timing isn't just important, it's everything, non-negotiable. If you're dropping this kind of cash and time, you have to go when the weather guarantees that iconic Palawan experience. The clear water, the sunshine, the calm seas.
Okay, so what is that magic window? When should people be booking?
The key window, the absolute best time, is the dry season. Roughly, that's from December through to May. That period generally means consistent sun, lower humidity, and crucially for the island hopping, calm seas. Calm seas mean that amazing water clarity and, most importantly, no canceled boat tours.
Right, because I sense a but coming. What happens if someone tries to save money or just has inflexible dates and travels outside that window, say in the rainy season? The sources mentioned a big risk.
It's a huge risk, potentially disastrous for your trip investment. The rainy season, especially later on, like September, October.
Yeah.
You get a high chance of rain, obviously, which dulls the colors, makes photos less impressive. But the real killer is the potential for storms and rough seas. If the Philippine Coast Guard says the conditions are too dangerous, they shut everything down. All boat tours are canceled, grounded.
So you could spend the $1,600, fly all the way there, endure the transfers,
Yeah.
and then find out the main reason you came, the island hopping, is just off. For days, potentially.
Exactly. You're stuck. You've paid the premium entry fee to basically sit in town, maybe deal with power outages, and watch it rain. It's the definition of wasted money and vacation time. So dry season only, seriously, December to May. Protect your investment.
Okay, message received. Dry season is mandatory. But even if you go then, you still need to manage expectations about the infrastructure, right? It's not like arriving in Singapore or Hong Kong.
Oh, definitely not. Palawan is developing, for sure, but it's still an island province with challenges.
Yeah.
You have to accept these as part of the deal. First big one, island time. Things just run slower. Don't expect hyper-efficiency. Flights might be delayed. Ferries might leave late. Getting your food in a restaurant might take a while. You have to relax, go with the flow. If you try to fight it, you'll just get stressed.
But hang on, if you're paying nearly $2,000 for a week,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't you expect things to, work? Power cuts, really.
It's the paradox of Palawan. You're paying premium for the natural beauty, the relative remoteness, not necessarily for flawless infrastructure. And yes, the sources are clear. Power outages are still a thing, especially in El Nido, which is further out. Good hotels have generators, yes, but don't expect perfect, uninterrupted 24/7 power and Wi-Fi like you'd get in a major city. It's part of the trade-off for being somewhere less developed, more raw.
Can you give a couple more specific examples? Things that might catch a first-timer off guard even in the dry season?
Well, besides the travel delays, internet is a big one. Wi-Fi can be patchy and slow outside of the better hotels. Mobile data signals can be weak in many areas. So if you're planning on working remotely or needing constant connection, that could be frustrating. Also, simple things like getting a tricycle. There often aren't fixed prices for longer trips. You need to haggle a bit. It takes a little time, a bit of patience. It's just different. But arguably, that slower pace is also part of what protects its charm.
Good point. And finally, given how beautiful and fragile it seems, There's an ethical side, too. Responsibilities for visitors.
Hugely important. Palawan's ecosystem is precious and under pressure. Visitors have a role to play. Be super careful with your trash. Pack it in, pack it out if needed. Use only reef-safe sunscreen. This is often mandated now, actually, to protect the corals. And obviously, don't touch marine life, don't stand on coral. Just be a conscious, responsible visitor. Help keep it beautiful.
Okay, so we've got the $1,600 to $1,800 plus price tag, the
Yep.
multi-leg travel ordeal, the potential for bumps and delays, the absolute need to go December to May. We've talked about the stunning lagoons, the wrecks, the whole vibe. Time for the final call, the ultimate verdict. Based on everything we've analyzed from these sources, is Palawan worth it?
Okay, the verdict. It's a resounding yes, but. A very important but. It's a yes if you fully understand and accept everything we've just laid out. Palawan genuinely is one of the most breathtaking places on the planet. It lives up to the hype visually, but it demands that you earn it, both financially and logistically.
Remind us of those conditions again, the 4 Fs.
Right. Palawan is worth it if 1. You absolutely commit to traveling only during the dry season, December to May. Don't gamble on the weather. 2. You can genuinely afford that $1,600 plus budget without it causing financial stress. Don't try to do it ultra cheaply by compromising on timing or safety. 3. You are mentally prepared for the journey, the multiple flights, the potential delays, the van or ferry rides. You need patience. And 4, your absolute top priority is that unique, unparalleled natural beauty and marine adventure, and you're willing to accept the slightly rustic infrastructure as the trade-off for accessing it.
It sounds less like just booking a holiday and more like planning an expedition almost.
Yeah.
A high-cost, high-reward expedition.
That's a really good way to put it. The cost is significant, yes. The logistics require effort, but the payoff, the actual memory of kayaking into a silent lagoon or snorkeling over a vibrant reef near a WWII wreck, or just that feeling on the boat with the sun and the sea, that payoff is an investment in something truly unforgettable. It delivers on the dream, provided you plan smart. #outro.
So let's wrap up this deep dive. The key takeaway really seems to be that Palawan investment ratio, high cost plus complex logistics plus careful timing. It's a prime-edged natural reward. You're essentially paying a premium access fee for something unique.
Exactly. You have to respect the destination, both financially and in terms of planning. Cutting corners, especially on the timing, is just asking for disappointment. Budget for it, plan for the travel days, go in the dry season, and you'll likely have an incredible time.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. We talked a lot about the challenges, the infrastructure, the island time, the difficulty getting there compared to other places. But maybe, just maybe, those very things that make it challenging are also what's protecting it. Could it be that the slightly difficult access, the less than perfect development, is exactly what stops Palawan from being completely overwhelmed by mass tourism, preserving that raw, incredible beauty for those willing to make the effort?
That's a fascinating point. The friction is a filter, isn't it? The day that flight to El Nido costs $50 is the day the whole experience changes, probably forever. Maybe the hassle is a necessary evil to keep it special.
Something to think about. We hope this detailed breakdown helps you plan your own Palawan adventure. Use these numbers, mark December to May on your calendar, set those expectations realistically, and go prepared.
Happy planning! Hope your flights are smooth, your seas are calm, and those lagoons take your breath away.
We'll catch you next time for another deep dive, helping you travel smarter.